In Activity 8, Graphing Population Data, students graph the data they have collected on their fruit fly, aphid, and daphnia populations and discuss why they have increased or decreased. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 5, Activity Sheet 6, Activity Sheet 7, Activity Sheet 8, and the Population Data Graph Chart. You will also need to provide aphid population data chart, daphnia population data chart, fruit fly population data chart, crayons, and felt tip markers. To prepare for the activity, make 3 copies of Activity Sheet 8 for each student. To begin the activity, have the class look at the numbers along the bottom row of each of the 3 charts: fruit fly population, aphid population, and daphnia population, and ask what has happened to the populations of the 3 organisms. Students should respond that the populations are either increasing or decreasing, depending on the numbers on the charts. Then explain that a graph is a way of representing information in a special kind of picture. Demonstrate how to make a graph of the aphid population information using the blank grid entitled Population Data Graph. At the top of the graph, write aphid. Next to the y-axis, write aphids on the line following number of. On the y-axis, mark off number increments appropriate for the total number of aphids in your class. Have the students refer to the chart and report the number. Color the column above day 0 as high as this number on the y-axis of the graph. Repeat for each numbered and dated observation day. Then do the same for the fruit fly and the daphnia populations. Next, discuss the graphs by asking students, without reading the numbers, how can you tell which population is getting bigger every day? Students should see that the graph that shows an increasing population has a taller column on each succeeding observation day. Then ask students, if the population grew larger at first and then began to get smaller, what would such a graph look like? Students should realize that that graph would show the columns first getting taller and later getting shorter. Next, distribute 3 copies of Activity Sheet 8 to each student and return to students their copies of Activity Sheets 5, 6, and 7. On the 3 copies of Activity Sheet 8, have students create 3 graphs, each of the fruit fly, daphnia, and aphid population changes using their own team's data. Allow ample time for students to graph the data, and when they have finished, ask students, which of your graphs shows that a population is getting bigger? Which one shows that a population is getting smaller? Students should be able to pick out graphs that show either condition. Next, ask students, why do you think the populations of some of the animals are larger now than when you began counting them? Students should be able to say that the populations are larger because the animals have been reproducing. Students may have actually observed the fruit flies, aphids, or daphnia reproducing. If so, have them share their observations. Most students will have noticed that many of the new organisms are smaller than the original ones, indicating that they are newborn. If any population is declining, ask students, why do you think that the population is getting smaller? Students will probably say that some of the animals must be dying. Remind students that the term population refers to the total number of a particular kind of animal in a particular area. Then ask, which population in our classroom is the biggest right now? The aphid, daphnia, or fruit fly population? Answers will vary. Listen carefully to students' answers to make sure they are grasping the population concept. Finally, continue to add to the charts until they are completed. Every few days, have students add the new data as they continue to monitor the populations of the 3 animals. To conclude the activity, keep the class charts and graphs posted where students can see them. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.